They're actually telling you with their limiting beliefs. They're telling you their opinions. They're telling you their values, how they think the world is. But then that's why you see it from your way as well. And you're like, well, you're wrong. And then they're like, you're wrong. But who's right, who's wrong? Nobody. But is it useful or is it unuseful for your life?
Yeah.
That's how I've always looked at it. If this person has what I want and they tell me to do something, I'm going to take it on board.
Hey mate, I'm Coach Mitch and welcome to the Unbreakable Man podcast. It's my goal to help you achieve excellent results in the area of your health and physical fitness, your career or business, your relationships, and in your own personal passions. This is going to be your one-stop shop if you are the kind of man who wants to achieve his fullest potential in life. And the only way to do that is by becoming unbreakable. Hey guys, and welcome to the Unbreakable Man podcast. Today I'm sitting down with Morgan T. Nelson. How are you, Morgan?
Good to see you, mate.
Yeah, good to see you as well, brother. For those of you who are watching, this is actually also the first time that Morgan and I have ever met. So we're going to learn about each other whilst you're learning from both of us too. It was funny actually, before you got here, me and my housemates were placing bets on what the T stands for in your name. My money's on Tyrannosaurus. I think one of my housemates said Tim. So what was the T stand for?
I can tell you it's closer to, what did you say?
Tyrannosaurus.
Tyrannosaurus. It'd be closer to that than anything else because everything I do is quite different and exciting. So definitely wouldn't be Tim. But I've never shared it openly anywhere. In fact, no one actually knows it, except obviously like my partner. And I just thought, I was like, because I've had a few people, they're like, what's the T mean? And I think I'm going to keep it like a secret. And I think one day I might auction it off to like a charity or some shit. And we'll do like, maybe like one of my big Dream Fest events or something. I don't know, we'll build up enough hype, enough curiosity, maybe down the line where people are just edging to be like, what is it? Then we'll charity it off and then I'll reveal it and people are like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. It's just T. T-E-E.
like this, remember the Simpsons episode?
Yeah, exactly.
Homer J is just T-E-E.
It's J. Yeah, exactly. Cool. No, that sounds awesome. Beautiful, man. Well, first and foremost, like I said, obviously we've never met before. We haven't even spoken on the phone or anything before this. It's all just through Instagram, just messaging each other and setting this up. So just give us the rundown, man. What is it that you do? In as basic of a paragraph as you.
What is it I do? I help people bring their dreams to reality. That's the thing. I help people get really clear on what it is they want out of life and what they're really here for. And then identify all the shit that they learned along their life that has stopped them from actually having that. See, I think everyone's perfect the way they are. And a lot of people come to my events and they're like, I'm going to learn shit. In fact, one of my opening lines I say is, I'm not here to teach you anything. I'm actually here to help you unlearn the things you've learned along the way. Because I think if people started being who they were born to be, not who they were taught to be, then they'll actually start living a life that's extremely on purpose. They'll live a life with passion. They'll be excited that they wouldn't have this judgment. They wouldn't have this society pressures on them to be a certain way, be a certain person. And, I think ultimately that would be, living a life by design. They'd be dreaming out loud. So what I do is help people really sort of tap into that stuff and unleash their greatness within. And how we do that is through in-person, full immersed events. Because I think that's, I get a lot of joy out of that. That's what I'm here to do. I love training people on stage, love seeing the transformation in like 3 days across what people can have in their life. But the biggest thing people get, like, I've done one-on-one stuff before. But what people can get in a room when there's 50 other people, 100 other people going through change as well, is something that you just can't create in like a one-on-one situation. So I love the full immersion where people can get like 12 months coaching with us pretty much for a weekend. Like in a weekend for a fraction of the cost. It's kind of like I moved to Mexico when I was 23. And before I was moving there, I wanted to learn Spanish. So I'd got the Duolingo app. And every single day I'm learning Duolingo, 5 minutes a day. I'm like, I got to do 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day. And by the time I got to Mexico, I could barely speak any freaking Spanish. I could say like, hola, right? Like not much at all. But after 1 month living in Mexico, my Spanish speaking skills quantum leaped after a month, because when I was thrown in the deep end, I was in the full immersed environment where you sink or swim, and I learned Spanish so much quicker. And I think a lot of people can relate to that as well. If you're in an environment where everyone's moving, everyone's shaking, and you fully immerse yourself for like 40 hours across a weekend, It's like that you just see quantum leap results. So I love training people like that in the room because they can have night and day difference in 72 hours, across 3 days, than what they can in like a year or 2 years or 3 years. So yeah.
Yeah, the environment makes a big difference. And that's obviously what you experienced when you went to Mexico, right? You had to learn. It wasn't really an option. I don't communicate with anyone, or I learn this language well enough to communicate.
Yeah.
One of the things you said about, the statement of, you're perfect the way you are, right? I don't know. I think, I know you're going to have an answer for me, which is good. But I think that, we start out the way we start out, and it's all about trying to grow and improve ourselves, improve our ways of thinking, improve our skill sets and all that kind of stuff. I almost want to know that, I'm not perfect the way I am, and I have more to gain and more to create an experience. So when you say that you're perfect the way you are, what do you mean by that?
I mean, you've never seen a 3-year-old kid say, I'm never going to be able to become a rocket scientist because I'm not smart enough. You've never seen a 3-year-old kid go up to another kid and be like, oh no, I don't want to talk to them because, what we see in the playground is 3-year-old kids run to each other and just say, poke each other on the nose and be like, you're my friend. And they just connect so easy and they just laugh so easily and life's so easy. And then they have all these big dreams. They have all these big goals of what they want to be when they're older. You ask a kid, what do you want to do when you're older? I want to be a race car driver, an astronaut, yada, yada, yada. But then at some point between that age and 25, they've been told, no, I don't actually know statistics. I used to know this number, so I'd butcher if I made it up. But the statistics of how many times an average kid hears the word no by the time 18 versus the word yes is about 20-something times the amount of times they hear the word no. No, 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 no. So they eventually start to get conditioned. So what happens is, scientists put 6 monkeys into a cage, right? They put 6 monkeys in a cage and put a ladder in the cage. At the top of the ladder, they had bananas. And one monkey would go up the ladder and go to get the bananas. And when that monkey did, the scientists would scold the other monkeys with water. So eventually these monkeys realized every single time one of us went up the ladder, we would get punished. So what they did was they'd beat the shit out of the monkey, bring him back down to stop him from doing it. Eventually, no monkeys would go up the ladder. So what the scientists did, they took one monkey out and they put in a brand new monkey. And this monkey comes in, oh my God, bananas, goes up the ladder, gets the shit beaten out of him. He's left wondering, like, the hell did I just walk into? Now he's sitting down the bottom, left wondering. They replace another monkey, put in a brand new monkey. This guy goes up the ladder, guess what happens? Gets the shit beaten out of him by every single monkey, including the one that just got put in before. He was just joining in. Now, they did this enough times until every single monkey in the cage was brand new, hadn't been scalded with water, and hadn't even been up the ladder yet. Now, if you were to ask the monkey in the cage, like, how come you're not going after your bananas? He'd probably say to you, well, that's just the way things have always been done around here. You see, the monkey that first got put into the cage was a perfect monkey, had natural instincts. I want my bananas. I'm going to go after my bananas. Then what happened was it got conditioned by its environment, got conditioned by society. The people around it said, no, we don't do that here. So eventually it learned how to not go after the things they want. But the worst thing is they confuse as to why they can't have it. So they just accept reality eventually. Like there's been so many psychological tests and tests done on this, right? The power of our environment, what it actually does to people. Another one was, this is actually the very, 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 very first ever psychological test ever done by scientists, right? They put 4 people into a room, 3 of them are paid actors, one of them's a real person. And then they draw 4 lines on the screen, on the piece of paper, right? One of them is significantly bigger. It's like double the size of the other 3. And they say to everybody, you have to draw a circle around which one is the bigger one. And they told the actors, you have to purposely pick the wrong one. So they all come in, they circle A. And the answer is clearly C. Now, the real guy comes in, he looks at them, he starts laughing like, you guys are freaking mentally ill. What's going on here? Like, are you stupid? And he circles the C. It's like, it's clearly C. Then he does it a second time. They come in, they circle the wrong one again. This time he's like, what? Circles the right one again. This happens for about 4 to 5 times. By the time between 4 and 6, it usually happens. What happens is the real guy comes in, sees the actors all choose the wrong one, then he selects the same one as the others, even though he knows it's not right. So what has been proven, like psychologically, it's more important for us to fit in with our tribe, to fit in with society, to fit in with our environment than it is for us to actually stand out and be right. It's more important for us to fit in than it is to speak our truth. More important for us to fit in than it is for us to go after our dreams, our goals, at the cost of perhaps these guys not agreeing with it or thinking we're dumb. So it's more important for us to actually just go, I'll give up on everything I actually want so I can fit in and not stand out. And it's even worse here in Australia, right? But so what I mean by everyone's being perfect, I think we're absolutely born perfect. And what happens is the environment has completely screwed people up. It's conditioned us to put limits on. Like we're only born with two fears: the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. It's why you can yell at a baby and drop a baby. Trust me, I've done both, right?
Oh, wow.
and the baby will cry. Yell at a baby, loud noises. Baby falls off, screams. They're the only two fears. Every single other fear is created and made up. Anger is made up. The fear is made up. Sadness is made up. Depression's made up. All these negative emotions, the only real emotion we're actually all born with is love. Creation is made out of love. Every single other emotion has been learned along the way, and they're very useful. Don't get me wrong. Like anger is a very useful emotion for short bursts. It's not useful when someone did something to you 10 years ago and you got pissed off about it and you're still holding on to it. It's like drinking the poison and thinking they're going to die. That's not very useful for us. So I like to look at a life like life. It's nothing's good or bad. It's either useful or unuseful for us. So the fact if people are, I truly believe that everyone is perfect the way they are, who they were born to be. Now, can they improve and get better? 100%. But if I were to get into the limitless mind of like a 3-year-old and merge it with our own intelligence and wisdom from the past, we would have an incredible, unstoppable person right now.
Okay. I've heard of that experiment with the lines and the actors and all that. And with that being the case, what is it that we are aiming to do then? Are we aiming, or it's probably, maybe it's both, but are we aiming to get ourselves around people who also have that limitless kind of mindset? Or are we aiming to be the person who's happy to stand out and step away from the crowd?
I think it's both. I think, in order to, because what happens is as soon as you make a decision to actually move to a different crowd, it's like there's a crab analogy. Have you heard that one?
And what's that? A crab analogy?
Crab,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So for the people watching, right, it's like you put one crab in a bucket, it'll crawl itself out. You put 20 in a bucket, it tries to climb out, and the others will grab it and pull it back down because what they think they're trying to save it. So you said is about having the courage, I guess, to step out and be like, no, I'm going to choose what's right for me. 100%. It's what I think is easier to do is if you get yourself into an environment where that type of behavior is normal, it's going to be very simple for you. But if you don't have an environment around you where people are not working on themselves, they don't select greatness, they don't strive for incredible things, they don't have this growth mindset, they don't encourage each other to do hard things. If you don't have that sort of bubble or those people around you, I think choosing the answer C when everyone's choosing A is freaking hard. Like I remember I started doing when I was 21 years old, started going against the grain, being like, everyone's doing this and I want to start a business, and people around me are all like laughing at me saying, you can't do that, it's stupid, you don't know anything about business, you gotta go broke and all the rest of the shit. Now, I've always just had this sort of rebel attitude inside of me where I just looked at it, I was like, well, here's the thing, you're going nowhere in your life, and even where your trajectory is just a job that you don't even like anyway. So I know that that's what that's going to give me, and I don't want that. So I'm going to just roll the dice on what this is going to give me. It might give me something great or it might not, but I would rather die trying. I would rather get to 40 years old trying to create extraordinary life for myself than sell my soul and sell my dreams for a nice paycheck that's comfortable and easy. That's what I would rather. So I kind of always had that edge to be like, I don't give a fuck what you think about me. I don't care what's going to happen, but like I'm good on my own regardless. If you want to come with me, cool. But it wasn't easy. Definitely wasn't easy. But I think the more you do it, the better you get at it. And that's actually how I gauge now if I'm on the right track. I tell people around me, I'm going to do this. And they're like, oh, I don't know. I said,
awesome.
That's how I know. Because if everyone's zigging, I'm going to zag. Chances are I'm probably going to be better because, the majority of people are lost. But I've got a very good support community around me. Like yesterday I was playing golf with like 5 multi-millionaires, and the conversations we were having there, it's like but here's what's really great. I individually sat in the golf cart with each one of them, right? As we're playing. I asked them all very similar questions. Every single one of them gave me a different answer. So what I've noticed is it's not so much like the environment over here that are killing it, all do the exact same thing. They have very similar habits. But the biggest thing I notice is they're all very willing and open to support each other in their differences. So it's like, hey, you can come into our group and you can choose A, B, C, or D. Fuck it, you can even choose E. All of the above. We don't give a shit. As long as you're choosing something, doing something, and doing the good habits, and you're showing up daily. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think that's super important. So I think it's very important to have the courage to actually identify that, hey, everyone's choosing A, and I know it's not right. I'm going to do what's right for me because I know that's true. I can see my vision, they can't. And then the next step would be, it would be a lot easier and simpler to get into an environment with people where that is normal, right? So my environment thinks normal is going against the grain, rolling the dice, doing the things, making the big moves, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely. And being, I guess, aware of the fact that perhaps you outgrow that environment and then you've got to go find the next environment if those people aren't willing to raise the at the same rate.
Yeah, the people who got you where you are now won't be the people who get you to where you need to go. You know, I continually look at that. Like I set my bar so high that, you know, my mentor I was golfing yesterday, like I hope to catch him one day, but he owns a private island, a private jet, private yacht. You know, I hope to catch him one day, but I can still sort of, you know, get a lot from him as we're going as well, because, you know, some good circles, if they're ahead of you and you're here and you do have the right habits and you're supporting each other's growth, it will continually progress like this as well. Right? But yeah, big one.
Absolutely. What are your personal goals, man?
My personal goals, look, the business goals, what I want to do is have 1 million people come through our events. So on 1 million people over the next 5 years go through our training somehow, whether that be from one of our online programs, our events, or something like this. That's the big sort of mission we're pushing for. My personal goals is honestly to be able to get all of that to a point where I don't operate it, where I show up to do the things I love, and then after my events, I chill. I have a place in Bali or a place in Mexico, and, you know, go back and just sort of relax. But at the moment, like and we were sort of chatting before, it's like at the moment we're growing and scaling this, and at the moment I am wearing many hats in the business because I've got to get this done, and I really do want to get to the point. This year is the goal actually to sort of take me out of the business where I can work on it and be the strategy, be the director of it and the head trainer, but have somebody actually operate the day-to-day of it.
Okay, cool. And then what will you do with all your free time?
Chill the fuck out. I genuinely love it. Like I love just having time for me. Like I used to live in Bali. Live in Bali. I genuinely, like, I was a carpenter before I got into business, and I think just ingrained so much in me that I used to get up at 3:30 every day, 3:30 to 4 o'clock every day, drive an hour and a half, you know, work 12 hours, drive an hour and a half back, and that was my life. So I'd get up at dark time and I'd come back at nighttime. So I think for me, a big thing is, like, I literally do wake up whenever I feel like it. Like, and I know so many people out there, the 5 a.m. club, I've tried it. I don't like it. I just don't like it. I'll wake up at 6 o'clock one day. I'll wake up at 6:30. Today I'll wake up at fucking 7:05 because that's just when my body was on. You know, my girlfriend woke up early. She's like, hey, come to the gym today. No, I'll go later when I'm awake. And she's like, you're not going to get up? No, I'm not done yet. Just get finished. So what's really important for me is just to actually have my freedom to live the life how I want to do it, right? So I want to go back to Bali or Mexico and just have the sort of freedom to do a lot more traveling, a lot more just fun throughout the days. But have a cool structure where, you know, I do have a lot of events because I always do want to be pushing towards a big goal. I think it's super important. If we don't have a vision of our future, then we'll be left dealing by the past, and we'll just recycle crappy things that haven't worked for us. So that's a big thing for me. And then I do want to get into more like speaking. So I do love speaking. I love training. I like doing all this. So I would sort of want to put myself out there where, you know, like literally if someone DMs me, so if you're seeing this and this is your job, DM me, right? Is someone just to like an agency, like a speaker agency, like get me gigs. And that's honestly what I want. I do sort of want some simplicity, just gangster money to live a cool life, but I just do want to kind of have things running forming in the background where we're doing the collective big mission. And I just spend my time doing things that I love and things that I'm really good at. I don't really want to do much outside of that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what are some of the things that you love other than speaking?
Oh, what are some things I love? The two biggest things is learning and teaching. So literally in my spare time, I will just keep learning. I'm one of those guys on my laptop with like 100 different tabs open, YouTube videos, courses, books, all these different things, right? So I'm always learning. But a big thing for me is travel, man. Yeah, I love traveling, exploring, sitting on an island, just doing those sorts of things, turning my phone off, being completely disconnected, like the simple things like that, just spending time with my partner, like actually enjoying each day. There used to be a big part of my life where I would always go to work, you know, because one day I'm going to get to this place, and I sacrificed a lot. That's why I lived in Bali for 3.5 years. And have you been to Bali?
No. My girlfriend actually just got back and she like invited me, and I'm just too busy at the time.
Yeah.
But I do want to go.
It's the best place. Like, there's so much to do there, right? And they've got these beautiful islands out there. I lived there for 3.5 years and never saw an island. Where, like, it's just an easy day trip away. But I was like, no, I can't, because I've got to work. And I never did it. And then when I came back, I actually came back at COVID, I really sort of woke up. So I was like, shit, what if I can never leave Australia again? I didn't even give myself a day off to go and just explore and enjoy my life, like eat the fruits of what I've planted. So a big goal for me, things I like, is actually just having a well-balanced life of progressively working towards a goal that's meaningful for me, but then eating the fruits of what I planted 6 months ago. Because I sacrificed that for so long. I didn't eat it. I was just plant, nurture, plant. You know, and then fire comes along and sets it all on fire. It's like, shit, could I eat my fruits?
Absolutely. So many dudes do that.
Yeah.
You know, I work with many guys who tell me similar stories. You know, they're just workaholics and constantly on the grindstone. It's like, yeah, but what is the point of all this if you're never actually going to enjoy any of it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're just going to spend your whole life just, yeah, okay, maybe the figure in the bank increases, but you don't get to take any of that stuff with you. And nor is that even, you know, those aren't the stories you're going to want to tell your grandkids. You know what I mean? So for you, when you were in that situation, you spent 3.5 years in Bali and never gave yourself a day off. Why was that?
I felt like I almost felt guilty for doing it, which is really, like, I know why now. Like, my 3 highest values is love, success, and fun. So success is a big driver for me. It's like my second highest value. So everything I do is with love and impact and good intention, kindness. But the biggest thing on my mind all the time is the most, you know, our values is what's most important to us. So the second highest driver in my whole life is success. Like, it's got to be successful. It's got to get it done. And then followed by fun, which is kind of a 180 to success, right? As most people would think is, you know, if you're going to build a business, for example, let's just call that, it's hard to sort of do that at the same time and just go and travel for 6 months and do what's really fun. So I'd continually sacrifice short-term things now so I could have it ultimately. But what happened was, for so long, I would work. And because I wasn't giving it to my soul, like my inner child, the fun, I'd work. And all I'd think about was, oh, I just want to go surf. I just want to go to the beach. I just want to go to a waterfall. I just want to go and hang out with my dogs. Or I want to go do this. I want to go to an island. You know, I've been traveling since I was 23. I could just get on a plane at any moment I want and go any country in the world I want. But I had to keep saying no to that so I can keep doing what's important now. So I'd work, think about being at the beach. But then when I'd be at the beach, I'd feel guilty for being at the beach because I should be working, work. So what happened was, when I'd work, I'd never give my 100%. But then when I was enjoying and having fun, I'd never give my 100%. So what happened was, I was living 2 lives at 50%. And I wouldn't say miserable. I was never miserable, but I was uninspired at both. I wasn't fully enjoying it. And I think this is quite normal for a lot of people. If we feel like we're not, you know, because there's always limiting beliefs we collect, like I gotta work hard for success and all the rest of it. So maybe there's still some of that in there. I've always been a hard worker. Maybe there's still some of that. It's like when I am actually working, I feel like I'm progressing. And if I'm not doing anything for too long, I feel like I'm sort of being lazy. But what I've gotten very good at now is actually discovering the balance. And I never forget this. I don't believe the word burnout exists. I've just taken it from my vocabulary. Although I think burnout has happened for quite a few people, and it's actually legit, and they're like wrecked and in hospital and proper adrenal burnout. Like that's probably a legit thing. and you should take care of that. But I think in this day and age, like our generation, when they're like, oh my God, I'm burnt out. Bitch, you don't know the first thing. You got to work more than 40 hours in a week, right? To even experience the edges of like actually exhausting yourself. Like, come on, right? So I think a lot of people these days, if they're like, they're getting in their head and making up shit. So I'd always stay, like, I'd be mindful of that. Like, don't be a little bitch to myself, right? Like, come on, like you can do more, and finding my own balance.
How do you know?
Through experience, unfortunately. That's how I learned.
Yeah.
Right.
So for those people who perhaps say they're burnt out or think they've reached their limit when they haven't, what would you say to them?
I wouldn't say to try and, like, if I was to give any sort of advice, I wouldn't say to try and find your limit, because if you do find it and you do burn out, it sucks. And it'll actually set you back a long time. So someone said to me once that, high performers can actually perform at that level. They can perform that level when they're on the field because of what they do when they're off the field. And that's when it started to sink in for me. See, I thought I would get ahead by just being like, boom, work. The year COVID hit, in the first 8 weeks of the year, I was on 19 planes, right? 19 planes in the first 11 weeks. And I had events all around Australia, events around New Zealand, in America. And I just turned down a keynote in Canada and in Mexico. Because I was like, this is a bit much. Like, I was literally going to fly to Canada, speak at the event, and then get back on a plane that day, I think the day after, and come back to Brisbane to speak in Brisbane event that day I landed. I was like, It's possible. I could do it. But I was like, for what cost though? I said no to that one. But then what happened was COVID started to happen and all the events stopped, right? Because everyone's like, you can't travel to New Zealand anymore. I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, cool. That actually feels good. I'm okay to do that. Then it's like, okay, you can't do Perth anymore. Okay. Can't do Adelaide anymore. Okay. Melbourne, Tassie, can't do these anymore. Can't do anything. Okay, Brisbane. And then they canceled Brisbane. It's like, shit. So everything went from 100 to 0 really quick. And I fully actually sat still for a moment. And I was very grateful. I was like, I'm actually super proud. I'm not proud. I'm super excited because I'm cooked. I don't want to do this. So if burnout does exist, I found the edge of, as far as I wouldn't want to go any further than what I did that time. So I was having a conversation with my friend. I'm emotionally exhausted. Like, I'm actually in tears. Like, one day, I've never had this happen. Like, one day I was just sitting and I started crying. I was like trying to hold it. I was like, no, like, express it. Why are you fucking crying? I was like, I'm just cooked on every level. And I don't know why. I'm talking to a friend and she's like, you told me 3 months ago that you were going to do that weekend trip away for yourself. Have you done it? I'm like, no. She goes, why not? It's because I've got too much on. I can't do it. I can't stay away for 3 days. And she's like, just do it because you can't keep going like this. So I'm like, fine. Like, I knew I had to do it. So I made the decision, even though I thought it was a bad decision. I was like, I can't afford to take 3 days off. I'm not going to do that. I booked this place up in the mountain hill of Beachmont here. Went away for 3 days, disconnected all my social media, did everything. So it was about 3 to 4 days actually. Went to waterfalls, went hiking, did all this shit, cooked food, present. I was like, wow, the fucking butterfly. Oh my goodness, I didn't know that existed. And when I came back to life, I made more money that week. That was my biggest week I had all year. And I took half the week off. I was like, maybe I'll take another week off. But then it started to click for me. You see, we'll attract amazing things to us when we're living in harmony and in alignment with our true values, with our true north, I call it, right? So I'm doing all the things that are important for me. What I neglected for so long was fun. So I was pushing success. I was like pushing the pendulum this so long to this way, but I never brought it back this way. So I believe that we can swing the pendulum fucking hard, but the whole thing of balance is a true thing. And because I've also met people where they're like, burnout doesn't exist if you're doing the things that you love. And I agree. Because if you're doing things that are 100% in your values, that's what gives you the most energy. That's where you get most joy from. So if you're doing things other than that, that's when burnout comes. But for me, mine is paradoxically success and fun. So everything I do is I got to have a lot of joy with it. Like, even down to the people I hire, we'll give them, I'll psychoanalyze the shit out of them for a lot of their behavior around work, but also who are they as a person? Because if I can't have fun with you at work, I don't want to fucking work with you. Like, I've had some assistants work with me and I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk to them, which is hard because you're my assistant. I need to talk to you, but I'm like, oh, I'm just not having fun. This feels like work. So I've learned how to incorporate work life together. for me. So every single thing about what we do, it's gonna be fun. Our events are fun as shit. Like we've got, people come, the crew, we handpick people very carefully. So, because when I'm on stage for 40 hours on a weekend, when I'm emotionally, physically, and mentally absolutely cooked, when I'm sleeping less than 5 hours a night and I'm on stage for 12 to 15 hours a day, I'm fucked. So I need to make sure the people in the room are really great. And then at the end of it, I don't want to go. I could keep going. Like at the end of every 3-day event, I'm like, I could do another day. I could do another 2 days. And that's when I know we're really sort of playing with it right. But what I've done now is I want to say 3 to 6 months, but I forgot my own rule because I let it go almost a year without having another at least 3-day trip for myself. So I went away 2 weeks ago to Byron, 3 days off the grid, no social media. But the last time I did that was March last year.
Yeah.
But I was realizing, I was like, everything was like playing up in my head. I was like, fuck, what's going on? Oh my God, I haven't even been away. I haven't done that thing for myself. And every single time I do it, I take a little bit back to actually recharge my nervous system, recharge my soul. Just remember, this is why I do what I do. So I can take 3 days off and stay in a ball in Airbnb for like $700 a night and just enjoy the shit out of that. This is why I do it, so I can actually enjoy it. And every time I do that and I come back, we get amazing results. I'm pumping, I'm excited to work again. I'm creative again. So the biggest thing I think for people out there thinking about, finding that limit, I wouldn't suggest to try and find it. I would say to incorporate some balance and be aware that there's a thing called discipline and being lazy, and you've just got to use your own judgment. I do believe that some people need a little bit more laziness probably to feel more recharged than other people. I think some people are so just freaking beast mode, and that's fantastic for them. I've tried for too long, didn't work for me. And now
3.5 years of consistent effort, like that's pretty beastly, man.
Yeah, like
some credit.
I would do wild shit. Like I would sleep 5-6 hours a night. I'm not recommending this, but like I say it on two hands because it got me to where I was. Would I do it again? No, but it worked. So that's why I'm like, I'm not going to say what you should do. How would I ever going to say what you should do? I'm going to say what I've done. From my experience, is what works and what didn't work. Try it for yourself because you may get a different result. Like one of my other mates loves this work. He just works every single day. He loves it. But he gets so much joy out of it. I've never seen him hit his threshold or nothing, but we also incorporate a lot of fun into our life. Like we're doing our skydive license together. We just played golf together yesterday, but I had to negotiate with him. Have the fucking day off, mate. Come on, let's go play golf. He's like, oh. So I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of just our default is to work. And one thing I put at the forefront of my mind, because my whole brand, everything is all about life by design. I want to make sure that at the end of my life, I didn't live to work. I worked to live, and I had this, everything I did was on a mission. It was for a vision. We made gangster money, made a big impact. But the biggest thing that people remember me for was he just created an extraordinary quality of life. And I think that's what we all want here. We want to live a life that we can go to bed each day. We're like, I'm exhausted because I worked my ass off today, but I also focused on myself. I did things that brought me joy. I did something to help other people. I did random acts of kindness. And I'm moving towards my collective mission, and I'm living in alignment with my true north and my values.
Yeah.
I think that's what's important.
Yeah, great. So I can tell that you speak for 40 hours over the...
Yeah, I told you.
Because I need like a little notepad here to go through some of those things. I 100% agree that, everyone's balance is different, and it's important that you try to find whatever that ratio is going to be for you. It might be 80-20, maybe it's 50-50, who knows, but... I think that's important, and I do believe the only way you're going to find that threshold is by tickling it or get close to it, like because that's what you did. You had the experience of getting close to it, and it took a pandemic to help you go, you know what?
Yeah,
this is my threshold, and like you said, it might not have been a pleasant experience, but now now you have that perspective, and you can apply that now when you're working your ass off in your life today.
But I think because I see so many people, like for the 3 minutes a day that I do scroll social media, and I see some posts these days and people like doing self-care. It's like I get it, self-care is great. I'm doing I'm doing stuff for myself today. It's like in my head, in the category of peak performance and creating extraordinary shit. Okay, because there's gonna be people that watch this and be like, well, you've got to do self-care and you've got to have self-love. I get it, 100% doing, but if your goal is simultaneously to build $1 million business this year, but you spend 6 hours a day fucking meditating, it's not your actions are not in congruency with what you say you want. So I decide to call it how it is. And I see people like, declaring big goals on social media. There's a few people I watch that are just in similar spaces, or at least like starting, right? And these are the goals I want, and this is what I'm doing. But what they're justifying to themselves, like it's called getting ready to get ready to get ready to get ready to get ready. Like, I'm just not ready yet, so I gotta do some more manifestation practices. I gotta do some more meditation. And it may feel really good, because sometimes to leave the comfort zone and actually take action, it shoots our nervous system a bit. We feel a bit like, especially if it's outside of our comfort zone, we're like, I don't like this. This is us growing. But the more baggage we can release, the more we can actually obtain and hold within ourselves as well. Right? I was having a conversation with Preston Smiles. I don't know if you know Preston.
No.
And he's a big coach in the States, right? And he was talking about this. He's like, your nervous system, it's like people do ice baths and they think they're doing hard shit. I'm like, sure, well done. Ice bath's fantastic. You feel great after it. But what do you do in the midst of like, so I've practiced this. How can I maintain this mindset when I'm jumping out of an airplane 15,000 feet to the earth? Falling 1,000 feet every 6 seconds. How can I contain my nervous system and my body and my mindset to actually be at peace and calm and make good decisions still at that kind of category? So it's not just ice bath. So it's like this all comes into the conversation of business too. If we're still holding on to all our shit from the past, our nervous system's going to get shot a lot quicker. If we're still triggered by everything and we're holding on to all this emotional baggage from the past, we're not going to be able to. That's why it's a little bit harder for some people to dive in as hard and fast into business, because they still haven't done the work in the past. And I believe it's like a left foot and a right foot. Work on yourself and work on your business. Work on yourself and work on your business. Work on yourself and work on your business. Become aware of, the past shit from the past. I'm going to clear that up while still taking action when it's hard. And when you collectively do this, eventually what happens is you'll start moving really, really fast. But a lot of people, I truly believe, are only still working at 40% capacity. So can they find their limit without overstepping? Yeah. Do a lot more than what you currently think is your max, because I guarantee you're nowhere near it. Most people are nowhere near it. Yeah. So I'm talking in a conversation of actual peak performance, right? You're not going to become, like I talk about 4 different standards, right? Most people, like in my room, I'll say, who's in a relationship in? You got some people put up their hands. Keep up your head if you think you're a good partner. Especially the ones who come with their partner, they're like,
yeah, I have to put my hand up now.
I'm good. Right?
All good, come on, bro.
And then I say, I'm like, I feel so sorry for you. Because in this day and age, like a good is just a 7 out of 10 life. Most people strive for the good life. They're like, I want to be good. I want to be a good partner. I want to be good at business. I want to have a good income. Unfortunately, if that's all you're asking, then that's all you'll get. And then 8 out of 10 is great. 9 out of 10 is excellence, but 10 out of 10 is a world-class life. There's a reason why people who come second place in the Olympics, people never remember anymore. But it's the difference of sometimes a millisecond. So the millisecond is the difference of being a national hero. I say to people in the room, I say, who knows Kathy Freeman? Everyone's hands goes up. Okay, beautiful. Who knows the person who got the silver medal in that race? Nobody. So if Kathy Freeman wins in a race 20-something years ago, everyone still knows her, national hero, because she won by a few milliseconds. But the difference is recognizing, doing your absolute best, and then pushing yourself even further. That's really the difference of achieving world-class results in this life and just having good stuff. Most people are working at 40%, and that's why they just get good results. They get good income, good body, good rest of it. But the people who have world-class results find their limit and then go 10% further.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that, man. I'm thinking about the man watching this right now, and he might be thinking, I think creating world-class results, I think even getting to that, not the creation of the results, but getting to the idea of I want to create world-class results is a process. There might be a guy watching this right now. It's like, man, I just want to have a girlfriend, and maybe I'm not setting this goal of a world-class partner, but I just want to have a girlfriend. And I think for the fellow who is watching this right now, this conversation is like, this is everything that's out there for you. Once you've got that girlfriend, amazing. Okay, what's next? How do you improve from there? How do you take that next step? And then eventually you're thinking, I want to be a world-class partner. You know what I mean? So, for any man who's listening to this right now, who's thinking, well, I don't want to be world-class. It's not, I think really when people say that, come on, let's be honest, man. If you could just snap your fingers and be world class, do it. You do it all day. Why wouldn't you? There's nothing to lose, right? But because we associate being Kathy Freeman with that is on a level that I couldn't even dream of right now, we don't even consider aspiring to be like that. So, for the guy watching this right now, be totally honest with yourself. Do you not want to be world class because you actually don't want to be world class, or because that just seems really scary right now? And if it is the second one, then that's totally fine. That's most people, including certainly myself in some areas, and perhaps even Morgan in some areas, or even in his past. And that's absolutely appropriate. Focus on whatever that next level is, but don't disregard the fact that you want that. Because if you do that, then you really truly never get there. If you want to be world class, you have to have the desire of, well, I want my life to include all the things that I'd like it to include. And if I set those limitations on it now, then I'm not going to push myself as far as I can go. I'm not going to get even close to that threshold. Yeah. So for the fellow watching this right now, thinking like that, that's okay. Take your time, focus on your next step, but don't go thinking that you can't have it if you're really serious and you genuinely do want it. I think that's something that's worth thinking about.
Yeah, I would be challenging the programs that has been taught from being in the cage of monkeys, because I grew up saying you can't have your cake and eat it too, being told to me, you can't have your cake and eat it too. But then I grew up a little bit more, and then I thought about it. I'm like, why can't I have my cake? What's the point of having my cake if I can't fucking eat it? So a lot of rich people I know will always choose. In fact, my mentor, he's prone for this one. What do you want this one, David? This or this one? He go, I want both. Both. Always both. And same with me. I'm like, I don't want one. I want both. I want a little bit of this and a little bit of this. So for the people, if they're like, oh, but I can't have this, that was a program. That was installed at a young age, because you were not born being like, okay, little Johnny, 2 years old, here's what you can have and here's what you can't have in your world. And then they learn, like, Johnny didn't come out like that. They're like, Johnny came out and be like, I want mum's tit, I want this tit, I want that tit. They don't, you know what I mean? They start learning what they can have and what they can't have. So
someone put limits on how many titties little Johnny could have.
Yeah, poor little Johnny.
There he is.
And so I think that's a big thing, right? Like actually challenging that. But I think I get what you were saying. Like if some people are watching this and be like, well, that feels so far away. There's two things for this. Is one, as long as it's in the vision, it can happen, right? And I like to look at it like this. It's like imagine you're standing on a lava stone and you're in a big volcano and you can see the place you want to go to. You see it exists. So if you can visualize this world-class life you want to live, you can visualize this extraordinary quality of life with the banging relationship, bank account, body, all the things you want. You can visualize, but where you are right now is like, how on earth do I get there? Because if I step off this rock, I'm going to fall into the lava pit and die. And that's what most people do. So they have this fear associated. Well, if I take massive action, I'm probably going to fail. And then what if I fail? I die. But in the real world, we don't actually die. Along the way to our life, we fall down, we get results, and we're like, oh, that didn't work. I won't do that one. I'm going to do more of this one because this did work. And you keep doing that. That's actually how we'll get our way to there. Or people will think, well, what if I get all the way there and I don't like it? Then I have to do everything I did to get back here. And it's scary, so I'm just going to stay right here because it's easy. And our nervous system goes, that feels a lot better. Then we think, our nervous system think that's better. I'm going to stay here then. This is why I don't like people who are always like thinking, listening to my nervous system only. No, I listen to my nervous system, but when it's like I'm a little bit scared, that's when I lean in. Because I know this is different. I know this is the edge of my comfort zone. If I do what's nice and comfortable and easy and calming all the time, I will never grow. This is how I expand my nervous system. This is how I expand my capacity to hold more inside myself. So what they should start to do is what I did. Okay, that's what I want eventually. What's just the next step? I'm just going to focus on the next pavement, boom, and put a rock down in front of me. Then I'm going to walk onto that one. Then I'm going to get the next step, bang. And then I'm going to look up occasionally and be like, am I on the right path? Okay, cool. I'm going to tilt this way a bit more. I'm going to put another one down, another one down, another one. And eventually 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years later, you rock up there. And that's how it's achieved, right? So the people, if they're like, if they're the little fear stopping them from actually wanting to go after that, that's why. So instead of focusing on, like, anchor the big vision in your head, but then go, what's my next task I need to do? What's my next one task I need to do that when completing this will take me closer to that whole big thing? If we just keep doing this, we'll start moving closer. But if we stay on the rock, we'll go absolutely nowhere. And the second thing is start using the power of actually dopamine stacking, right? So I've done this thing called success stacking for so long. And this is the reason why most people are lazy and fail. And it's also why the reason why most people win and succeed. It's because what happens is every single human being has infinite potential. We've all got infinite potential, right? Now, what determines how much of our potential we tap into is our belief we have attached to ourselves. So let's say little Johnny goes, I'm unstoppable. I am $1 million business owner. I'm this, I'm incredible, I'm so worthy, I'm this, I can have everything, I can do anything I set my mind to. Johnny's going to tap into a shitload of potential. Then Johnny's going to take a shit ton of action. Then he's going to get a shit ton of results. Now the results produces more dopamine. It actually gives more dopamine receptors in the mind. So we can not only just, it doesn't just feel good for a moment, he can actually produce more ongoing. So then what happens is it starts to stack the original, the first foundation, which is the belief again. So now the belief comes in and goes, see, I told you you're a fucking beast. Oh my God, hey, you can set the bar even further next time. Then Johnny goes, oh my God, I'm going to tap in even more potential, even more action, better results. And it's stacked.
Absolutely.
Boom, 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 like this. But the bad thing is,
It can go the other way as well.
It goes the other way.
Yeah.
So when people go, oh, I'm going to get healthy this year. It's January 1. This is the year for me now. I'm going to set my clock at 6 o'clock this morning. I'm going to do 10 push-ups, drink my fucking water, and do all the shit that social media tells them to do, right? Then 6 o'clock comes along, they hit the snooze button, 6:05, snooze button. Next minute they wake up at 7 o'clock and they're like, oh my God, I fucked it, I've ruined it, I'm not good, then I'm not going to have my water, I'm not going to do my 10 push-ups, I'm not going to do this, the rest of it. So what happens is, had no belief already, little potential, little action, little results, but now the results go, see, I told you weren't good enough.
Reinforced
belief. It reinforced it from the start. And what this actually does in a neuroscience way is it destroys dopamine receptors. So it makes it harder and harder. And dopamine is the confidence drug. Makes us feel confident, makes us feel like actually worthy and certain in ourselves. We're producing less and less and less of it. So it's going to get harder and harder and harder to ever actually accomplish a goal. So the next time little Sally comes along and Sally goes, I'm going to build $1 million business this year. Her mind goes, no, you're not. Because you couldn't even get up at 6 o'clock when you said you were going to get up. You're not going to reach out to those people, get up and speak in front of people, do the hard things. I just don't believe you. Because because I've got all this evidence from the past to show me why you weren't that person. So why am I going to believe you now? So I'm only going to give you a little bit of potential because I'm just going to store the rest of things to keep you alive.
Yeah.
Right? And then what starts to happen is they just go down, 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 down. They get down this down. Like, how did I get here? Now, if they're sitting here and they're thinking, well, how do I get out of this? It's simple. Start doing the shit you said you were going to do. Set little tiny goals. One of the things you said before, it's like the whole world-class thing. And I'm a big believer. It's like if your car is in reverse and you're going so fast this way and you just smash the car into forward straight away, you'll explode your gearbox and you'll go nowhere. But if you just take it out of reverse first and you start to slow down the patterns, come to a standstill, and then start going forward, that's how you start to build a solid foundation in life. So I say it every single year when I see people, I'm saying big goals for the start of the year. And I say, don't set big goals. They're stupid.
Yeah.
Have a big vision. Have a big vision. Have a big mission that inspires you. Set micro goals that will build a habit.
Very achievable little mini goals. Hey.
If you can set goals that transform how you habitually are. So now when someone says, oh, you need to get up at 6 o'clock, I am a person who gets up usually between 6 and 7. Like, so I still consider myself a quite morning sort of person. That's because it works for me. I don't do anything on my day before 10 o'clock, right? So I know I've usually got that much time to get up, go to the gym, go for a swim, go to sauna, do whatever I want to do. That's just my time. But if it comes to start another business like we did at the start of this year, my mindset is, well, I'm going to blow this business up. It will be $1 million business. That's what we're growing because that's the shit I do. That's what we're doing. So it's reinforced it all the way from the start, but it's because I have all these habits of, I know I'm someone who's a self-starter, I'm motivated, I'm hungry, I get shit done, I ask for advice, I'm coachable. They're habitual things that I've taught myself throughout the last 8 years. So I don't have to think about it because I just know that's who I actually am. But if I'm someone who's lazy and don't like to make phone calls, don't like to, make sales or whatever, then it's going to be harder. So instead of saying the big goal to be like, I'm going to build $1 million business, go, what's going to be the skill set if I become freaking masterful at it? the byproduct of that is going to be a successful business. Maybe it's public speaking. I don't know. Maybe it's sales. Maybe it's online web development. I don't know. Maybe it's just going to the freaking gym.
Yeah, absolutely.
Having some discipline. Like, I'm not sure, but if they start to develop these things, like, and then they've got a solid foundation to actually accelerate it.
Yeah, look, I think that one of the reasons, and it probably sounds a bit counterintuitive once again to the man watching this, but I think one of the reasons why people don't achieve those big goals is because they don't look low enough. They don't set unless my goal is something impressive, then it's not worth doing, but I think it's all the very unimpressive but consistent things that allow a greater vision to become a reality. So for example, right now, if you're really overweight and you want to be really fit, then you might go, okay, well, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. And it's like, well, these are the things that I'm going to do. And by the end of the year, I'm going to lose 50 kilos or whatever the number's going to be. And that's great. Have that vision. And like you were saying, like, that is where you want to get to, right? So let's not discount how important that is. But to you, a big win might be literally doing a lap of the block.
Going for a walk.
You know what I mean? Literally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then when they celebrate the win, starts a success stack.
That's right. But because they look at that and go, well, that sucks. That is so crap that I can't even do this. And then they never do it, and then they never get anywhere. So I really think, again, for the fellas watching this, if there's something you're trying to change, sometimes it's just those little unimpressive things that nobody thinks are cool are the things that you need to do and need to start off with, and then be able to be proud of yourself for doing those things consistently, at least first. Another thing that you mentioned along the way, and you spoke about how our nervous system kind of responds in like a protective way when we get out of our comfort zone. One of the things I think is really interesting about that too is that the longer we stay in our comfort zone, we also get a little bit of that discomfort. Kind of, it seems almost counterintuitive, but that's kind of the paradox of it. If we move forwards, it's scary. If we stay in the same place, we get depressed. We want those are the men who are listening to this who might feel lost in their life, not really sure what it is that's making them feel down. For me, when I look at guys like that or I have conversations, I go, man, you've been the same dude for the last 10 years. You know what I mean? You've not experienced anything new in your life or become a new guy. All through your childhood, teens, 20s, maybe those were stressful times because you had to build yourself. But you'll still look back at those as like the golden years, right? And I think that we look back at those times is because we were constantly upgrading ourselves all the way through that. And then we hit this point where we go, okay, well, I now meet, the let's say the bare minimum standard or some standard for myself in society. And that's where I stay. And then guys are wondering like, I got everything I wanted. Why am I unhappy? It's like, because there's more out there for you and you're not experiencing it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a big case-by-case thing with that, right? But there's the whole chestnut, right? People create a life that's successful and they get to the point it's uninspiring. And, like what I teach at the Dream Out Loud method, right? That's my 3-day program.
What's it called, sorry?
The Dream Out Loud method. So it's the 4 pillars of creating a dream life, right? It's like the right environment, the right vehicle, the right timing, and the right you. But what happens is a lot of people learn a little bit of stuff and they do a little bit, but they don't fully integrate things. So one of the things of the non-integration of these 4 pillars is the unfulfillment. Because the people I've met that have built this successful life, but then they're uninspiring, it's because they did a life to someone else's value system. Their parents said, hey, you should do this. You've got to do this. And they started living this life and got this career, got this girlfriend, got this, partner or whatever, right? And not living true to what's important for them. That's what I believe is the ultimate thing that leads to a life of unfulfillment, because they chased the money. They chased the things that society told them to do instead of actually checking in here. So, if we're talking about, people on the journey and getting to a point of uninspiration, or the unfulfillment or the depression you're saying, I think it really comes from that, living a life that's not theirs.
Yeah.
Living a life that they think their parents want them to live, or their girlfriend wanted them to live, or their partner.
Society, right? There's this standard here that we're all expected to get to, and then we get there and we go, okay, wife, kids, car, house, still not happy.
See, from the get go, I saw that and I was like, fuck that. Everyone's doing that. They don't look really, really rich and really, really happy. So I'm gonna do this. Even if this don't work, I'd rather fail at this than win at that.
Absolutely.
And that was the big thing I've always had from the start. I think there was a saying. It's like I would rather lose in the game than watch. That's always been my philosophy. Like, I would rather lose every single fucking match than just watch on the sidelines.
Yeah.
At least I'm up here giving it my best. That way, I'll sleep easy at night going, I did my best. It could have been worse. I could have just watched the people tried, but I'm fucking trying.
Yeah.
And then that for me, I think if the uninspiring life, as I'm talking right now and I'm hearing the stuff come out of my mouth, it's like, I think uninspiration really comes from low self-worth, right? I mean, the low self-worth comes from doing things that are not inspiring for you. It's kind of like the paradox. It's kind of like we do things that are uninspiring for us, then we don't feel good about ourselves. We don't feel good about ourselves, we do things that's uninspiring, and we just get sort of stuck in this thing. Because I'm just thinking right now, if I'm in the game of life and I lose every single game, I would still go to bed at night having more self-worth than the person who just watched. Because I would feel very good about myself going like, I could have done less, but I still chose not to. I'm doing my best. So I'd feel good about myself. So I don't think I'd ever sit there and be like, oh, I feel like a failure. I'd be like, I could do better, but I could be worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the big thing. I mean, I'd make sure I'm always on the game, in the game, on the field.
Yeah. Whenever I kind of have this kind of conversation, I always kind of feel, it makes me feel a little bit of, I don't know, maybe a bit upset about the fact that because I work with guys who are sort of in that middle-aged demographic, and I really feel like a lot of, not just men, but people in general have been done a disservice by never having had conversations like this or being exposed to ideas like this before they've really heavily invested into, those societal norms of life, and now they're in a position where, not that it can't be changed, I think everything is possible, but it's much, much more difficult, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel very fortunate that, I'm young, I don't have those responsibilities, and I can go all in on the thing that really matters most to me, and I just feel like people have been done a disservice, and that's why I love having these conversations, sharing them with people, is because I want to help guys start to make those changes and also help them believe that, yes, despite the fact that perhaps you have made some decisions in your past that still dictate some of the ways in which you've got to live your life today, it doesn't mean that you can't transform it into something that you're really happy with. So my question then for you is, where does this whole mindset and way of thinking come from for you? Where did you start out talking like this, thinking this way?
When I was 2 years old? No. Where did it start for me? Look, when I finished school, I was literally told, right? I was not failing, but I was not passing, like on that borderline. They said to me, like, the only reason I went to year 12 was for the parties and the girls. The only reason I stayed. I was like, I ain't fucking leaving. It's like every single weekend there's a party, get to hang out with the girls every day. Like, this is wild. It's the best years of my life. Then they said to me, if your grades don't improve, you're not going to go to the formal. Don't you take away the biggest party of the decade, motherfuckers. And so I started doing what I had to do, but I remember having a teacher say to me, hey, when you leave school next year, like, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know, maybe, this or this. And I started picking these different careers in the book. And they said to me, they're like, hey, we recommend you do something with your hands, go get a trade, be a mechanic or something like that, because we definitely recommend you don't do anything in reading, writing, journalism, or speaking, because it's not your strong suit and you'll never succeed there. And now I've written 2 books and spoken in 4 countries around the world, crowds to over 6,000 people at once, I have a podcast, and I have an events company, I speak, but for so long I listened to them, and I left school thinking like it was like a waste of my time, it was crap, and I kind of felt like it was really didn't set me up for life, for sure. And so
it's not designed to, is it really?
No way. It's actually designed to set you up to be a good worker. I forget where I heard that. I read it literally not too long ago. That's like when the education system. I'm going to look into this because this is a good story to add into my whole spiel of stuff. But it's the education system wasn't always a thing. And it's like a thing of the late, quite few centuries.
Last couple 100 years. Yep.
And They just embedded it because they're like, hey, what if we can give them early learnings to get them ready for the workforce?
To get into the factories and all that
Let's
sort of
get
stuff.
them on time. Let's get them punctual. Let's get them, learning how to be good workers. And fuck, it's wild, right? But on the other hand, it makes sense because imagine if people weren't ready. Like that's how also the world works. But there's, I think for the 5% of people that are listening that actually do want to break out of that, it's possible. But I left school and I started an apprenticeship as a carpenter, and because I thought that's the only thing I could do, I was like, you don't need a piece of paper, you don't need to go to university, you don't even need to finish year 12. I could do this, and I did it for my first day on the job site. I walk up to my boss, and he comes up to me actually 9.5 hours into the day, 3:30 in the afternoon. He says, Morgan, today's your first day of work, so you can go home early today. I'm like, this is early, because I'm thinking, when the fuck we got to finish? I'm like, we've already worked 8 hours. What the hell? And in my head, I'm like, I thought tradies knock off early. They go to the pub. Isn't that what a trade does? And I go, what time do we usually finish? He's like, usually, 4:35. And I'm like, 11 hours a day. I said, how many days a week do you do this? 5, usually 6. I'm like, for how many years do we do this in my head? And the answer was until the day I died. It's like, man, I got to find a way not to do this forever. Like, it's okay for now because I'm making money or whatever, but I don't want my life to be this 6 days a week at work. Like, sure, it's fun, but I don't love it. What I'd rather do is just hang out on the beach. Why not? And I started saying this to people. And they're like, you're an idiot, you can't do that, you're welcome to the real world, gotta get a job. I'm like, nah, I don't believe so. I'm gonna build a business, I'm gonna do something. Because here's the thing, we're building houses for this developer guy who's super rich. The guy who drives on the building site in a BMW, brand new BMW, wearing business clothes, he's not out here slaving away building shit. He's making decisions, he gets paid a lot of money. So how can I get there? So I started looking around. This is part of the 4 pillars, right? Like I started.
Stop you 1 second there, man. Like even that observation is not typical, right?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Look, I really don't know. Like, okay, well, if I was to really start to think about it, right? My first ever job I had was for this guy named Cameron, and he had like a magnetic therapy company, and I just always wanted to make money. I wanted to make money because I saw that I think like my parents never really had much, so we never got everything I wanted. It was always like, we can't have that because we don't have the money. So I think at an early age, I started to associate, I want to get money so I can have more of the shit that I like. I want to buy a motorbike. I want to have the nice BMX bike. I want to go and buy nice clothes. I want to travel. I want to do this stuff.
Yeah.
So I got my...
I'm absolutely fascinated by how 2 different people can be put in the same situation and make 2 totally different things. Because you could go, can't. Yeah. And you become like the kind of person that we spoke about at the beginning, right?
2 brothers, right?
Yeah.
You heard that story?
No.
It's like the 2 twin brothers grew up with an alcoholic father, and one grew up to be an alcoholic, one grew up to never have a drop of alcohol in his life. And you asked the 2 brothers, how come you're an alcoholic? And he said, well, what do you expect from me? My father's an alcoholic. You asked the other brother, how come you've never drank? He said, well, what do you expect? My father's an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Never wanted to go that.
Yeah. I suppose that, like, in that situation, maybe there's some predetermined factors that allow you to go one way versus the other.
There's so many things. It's really comes down. There's 2 million pieces of information our brain processes a second. 2 million pieces. And our brain's only consciously able to process 134 bits roughly per second. So think of all those pieces of information that have been left out unconsciously, or out of our awareness. They get put into our brain. They get generalized, deleted, or distorted. That's how our brain processes it. Is this important? Is it whatever? So think of all the information that's getting distorted or generalized. This is how things get grouped together: beliefs, values, our identity, our needs, different filter systems. There's so many things that actually will determine how someone sees a certain situation. Even down to this, you can look at someone and see them committing a crime. One person can look at them and be like, oh, look at that piece of shit, horrible person. And another person can be like, their life must be rough for them to do something like that. I feel for them. The exact same scenario. 2 different people, completely different observation, completely different story they got from it, completely different meaning they got from it. Now, how it works is what we actually see in the world is nothing other than a reflection of what we see inside of us. So whatever's real inside of us, whatever's actually deeply unconscious or conscious inside of us, this is how we'll see it in the world. For example, if we didn't know that color is green, I couldn't look at it and be like, that's green. I'd be like, that's a fucking roll on it. That's the thing. I wouldn't have that awareness to call it that. So if we can see ugliness in someone, it's because it exists inside of us. If we see hate in someone, it exists inside of us. If we see someone that we don't like, it's because they're parts of that person that exists inside of us. But the beautiful thing is, if we see things in other people that we love, it's because it exists inside of us. If we can see greatness in somebody else, if we can see belief, if we can see certainty, confidence inside of somebody else, it's because it exists inside of us. It's just been dormant. It's been pushed aside. It's not being actually like brought up and worked on. So that's the sort of whole thing. Because I grew up with family of 4 siblings, right? So 4 including me, right? But all my other siblings followed my parents' footsteps. But from a young age, I don't know, I liked money. I wanted to get stuff. And then my first job was working for Cameron. They were millionaires. So I'd get off the bus every day from school and I'd go and work, start gluing magnets in their freaking garage, 11 years old, and I was just learning from them. Like he would come home and he would say things like, hey, we had a bad day today. We only did $15,000 of sales. I'm thinking,
oh, it sucks, man.
And then I come around, you did a really good day. We did $28,000 in sales. So I started to associate from a young age what is not much and what is enough.
Yeah.
And what is a good day and what's a bad day. And, but now I've got friends who they do 100K in a day. It's a bad day. But I think that's where the desire came from. And I saw their way of living. They're a nice guy, lived on the water. They ate steak for lunch every day. I'd come home and we wouldn't have those things. I was like, I want this nicer shit. How do you get it? You got to have a business, got to make money. So I think I was always just aware, which I think everybody can do. Everybody can actually just take a second and look around and just make the decision. And if they're listening to this podcast right now and they're like, oh my God, my life's fucked up. I didn't know all this when I was younger. And, I've had all these stories I've made up from a young age. I can't control the 2 million pieces of information a second. True, you cannot. But here's the thing. If you watch this right now and you're listening to this right now, you're in complete control now from this point onward. So what do you choose to do? So we can be a victim to our past, or we can take responsibility for it. Even if we didn't do it, take responsibility that's in our life now. And if it's in our life, it's our responsibility to change it and do something about it. That's the big thing. Yeah, the stuff that happened to you when you're 5, 6, 10 years old might have been the most horrible stuff that could ever happen to you. And yeah, the person who did it or whatever, what a piece of shit. And what? It
might not be your fault, but it is your problem.
It's a responsibility to deal with it now. That's the thing. And it's like I said before, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. If we're holding on to hate and all this sort of shit, right? But the question you asked, where did it all come from? I think it came from that young age of seeing what they had and what I wanted. And that's probably where it always came from my head. It's like, I want to have a business. I want to do something. I want to make money. And I just looked around. I see I don't think it takes a genius to actually be aware of, have a good perspective. What is Andrew Tate calls it? That perspicacity or something?
Perspicacity, yeah. That's right.
Just look around and it makes a lot of fucking sense. It makes a lot of sense. Just actually be aware of what is happening and how is it happening. And I looked around and I saw people who are 50, 60 years old, alcoholics on the work site making $35 an hour still. But then I saw the boss of the whole carpentry gang. And then I started to see how much he got paid per house. I was like, wow, he's making some good money. Then I see the developer. I'm like, man, these guys are worth $600 million. That sounds good. So from an early age, I wanted to actually be a builder. So I put that into my awareness. I want success. And started hanging around with people that had that. That was the big thing. I had to hang around with people that actually had similar goals. And then a friend introduced me to my first online business. I started a network marketing business at 21, and he gave me a Jim Rohn CD. He's like, listen to this disc. I think you'll like it. Fuck, is a CD, put it in my car, and this audio went for I think like 56 minutes. My drive to work every day was 57 minutes.
Perfect.
And I listened to it every single day for I think it was at least 90 days. And I just ingrained Jim Rohn into my head. And I started to change my philosophy about life. That's the biggest thing. Like we all want a result. In order to get a result, we all want a lifestyle. Right? That's usually what we picture. I want lifestyles, then we set goals. So if I want a lifestyle, then we set, what's the result I need to get this lifestyle? I need to make X amount of dollars per year, this body, this bank, whatever. And then we take action. But that's where a lot of people get stuck. I got stuck for so long because if we don't change the philosophy that drives the action, it'll be the wrong action. So I just started to really ingrain and change the philosophy. I started to hear things like, you're some of the 5 people you surround yourself with. Like work harder on yourself than you do your job. My boss didn't like that one, but I started hearing that. I was like, yeah, like I give my all to my job, and I give nothing to me. I give what's left over to me. But I'm going to give my all to me and give what's left over to work. Like, that's just a reality. I got to fuel the beast. I'm the asset here. And these just tiny little shifts, profits are better than wages. All these little tiny philosophies of like, you know, this guy is super successful. He's saying this. I'm going to start listening to it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, that is very interesting. Whenever, I'll give you a personal example. You know, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you know, and sometimes my sensei says something kind of harsh and he makes me feel like an idiot, right? And then,
What does he say? Give us.
I don't know, like, you know, you completely screwed that up, or like, you know, that's totally wrong. Like the move I'm trying to do, right? He's just showing me how to do it. He's like, no. And he's Brazilian as well. He's like this tall, but he's a weapon. And you know, default mindset, which is most people, which is kind of like, oh, well, you don't understand how hard this is for me, or I don't get it, you know, I've not been doing it as long as you, blah, 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 whatever your excuse is. And then because of the work I've done on myself, that gets squashed by, he's the black belt, shut up and listen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just don't worry about it. He's here to help you. He knows more, right? Like, just shut up and listen. He knows something you don't. Just take it on board. You know, don't worry about your ego. It's okay. Yeah, so I think that for guys watching this, you know, listen to those people who have what you want, even if perhaps sometimes they say things in a way that might not be, you know, the way you want to hear it. You know, have the humility to accept it as it comes.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you said, you spoke about awareness. And I think that's the key, right? For a lot of people that are not aware. And I think that a lot of our environment and the way things are set up today is kind of designed to keep us distracted and focused on things that aren't really important, so that we're not going, okay, well, what do I really want? What's really good for me? Is this kind of like menial work really what I want in my life, or do I want better for myself? You know, so I think I've considered myself quite fortunate. I'm sure you do too, because you've had these thoughts from early in your life. So you've been able to really knuckle down from even your teen years, you know, and most people really, I think, would have gone through their teens and perhaps even their 20s, just kind of stumbling through life and taking things as they come and basically just being pushed this way and that way. And if you're a guy watching this right now, again, you've made all those commitments, wife, kids, mortgage, all that stuff right now, and you're thinking, man, I'm not happy and I want to change things. Start by becoming aware. Start, just because you didn't learn all this stuff when you were young, like Morgan did and like I am doing right now, doesn't mean that you can't become aware of it now. And I think that, you know, you might think, oh, well, it's going to take me, you know, 3, 5, 10, 20 years from this point to get to where I want to get to. It's like, fair enough. But firstly, as long as you're enjoying that process, or at least find fulfillment and meaning in it, then you're spending your time in a way that you want to. And then after that, you actually get to be the guy that you wanted to be all along for the rest of your life. You know, or you can spend the rest of your life being this person that you didn't want to be in, a situation that you don't want to be in. So, yeah, for the fellas watching this, become more aware, look around you and see who has what I'm after. You know, who's talking about the things that I need to learn about, and be willing to absorb and listen to those things. And it's going to be difficult because it's going to conflict with things that you already thought were true. And you're going to have to, again, have that humility to accept those things so that you can move forwards.
Yeah. The one thing you said, it's like, and this is, I've always looked at this when I went and had my first, you know, like when I first started my first business at 21, right? So it was in the network marketing space, which it does get a lot of bad rap, right? I had no idea what it was. I just had a friend of mine who was way richer than me, way happier than me, say, hey, come check out this thing I'm doing. I said, dude, whatever you're doing, I want to check out. So I went and had a look at it, and I thought it was a cult, and I said all this shit. And then he said to me, he's like, I literally texted him from outside the door. I said, dude, I'm not going to come in to this meeting. So there's like a big freaking line coming out of the door. It was 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night in a car park, like in the middle of fucking nowhere. I'm like, bro, you guys are setting shit on fire in there, man. I'm like, I'm not going in. This is weird. And he texted me back, and he's like, remember that you're broke. Come inside. I was like,
Yeah.
True. And I get inside, and then what I saw was all these other people that were also very successful, and they were happy, and they were living this life of freedom, and they were helping people, and they're talking about retiring their parents and being millionaires and all this sorts of shit. And I'm thinking, I don't give a crap what I thought it was. You have what I want, so I'm going to listen. So then I ended up jumping on board, and I jumped into it. Then naturally I came home and I told people, oh my God, I'm doing this thing. Check it out. I had all these people, oh, pyramid scheme, blah, blah, blah. But the first person who told me that, I just looked at them and I was like, you're 48 years old. You don't even own a car. You live paycheck to paycheck. And you're like 50 kilos overweight. You're in no position to give me any fucking advice in life. So I don't care about your opinion because all these people over here have the life I want and they're telling me that I can do it. So even though if it is the wrong decision, I'm going to gamble on these guys, not you. So I've never taken advice from someone I would not trade positions with. Even doesn't matter how close they are to me. Family, partners. Even my partner right now, if she sometimes offers me advice on certain things, I'll just check in. Oh, she doesn't have that. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Or we're like, because we're all just trying to help each other. So I know it's not like sometimes where it's like trying to tell me what to do. It's people are genuinely wanting to help. That's the thing. It's the crab mentality. They're wanting to help, but based off their 134 pieces of information they've taken from every single second of their life, think that what you're doing is a bad decision. So they're not really telling you what the bad decision is. They're telling what they think the bad decision is from their perspective in life, nothing else. They're actually telling you with their limiting beliefs. They're telling you their opinions. They're telling you their values and how they think the world is. But then that's why you see it from your way as well. And you're like, well, you're wrong. But then they're like, you're wrong. But who's right? Who's wrong? Nobody. But is it useful or is it unuseful for your life?
Yeah.
That's how I've always looked at it. If this person has what I want and they tell me to do something, I'm going to take it on board.
Yeah, nice. Beautiful. Look, we're getting right up to the time we've got to wrap this thing up. So I've got one more question for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you're going to have an answer for me, but I really want everyone who listens to any episode of this podcast, I don't want any of them to ever put myself or anyone else who comes onto this on any kind of pedestal. I really want every guy to understand that, if you want something, it's going to be your choices that get you there, not the circumstances that you're perhaps born into or anything like that. So I want to know, man, Unbreakable Man is about becoming unbreakable. And I believe that means addressing, your insecurities and your frustrations and the things that you're not as good at, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say is the biggest challenge in your life that you're working on for yourself right now?
The biggest challenge for myself would just be the person I'm needing to become to build two successful businesses simultaneously. Like I'm really good at certain things and I become aware that I'm crap at other certain things and they're challenging. Like it's like there's just certain things inside the business, like operationally wise, like really diving big. Like this morning I was with my business coach doing a big deep dive into my business and my finances. And they give me all these numbers and I'm like, and he's like, this is how much you made last month. I'm like, no way, that's a great month. Where is it though? He's like, well, this is how much you spent last month. On what? On what? And I'm like, fuck, because as the company's growing, my financial management is not there anymore. Like it was very good for my personal stuff. But now I've got all this stuff happening. I'm paying wages and this and this and this. Money comes in, money goes out. And so I'm recognizing that there's certain things that I just suck at, I'm not great at, that I'm having to get good at. Because if I want to grow these businesses, I've got to learn how to get really good at these finances. I get really good at leadership and management and operations and systems and all this shit that I didn't want to do. But here's the thing, I declared a big goal. Mm-hmm. So with the big goal, with the big mission comes obstacles, comes challenges. But, so for me, that's probably the biggest thing. But what I like about, you said unbreakable. I think to truly become an unbreakable man, you've got to break.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot. It's you're not going to grow in the gym without breaking muscles.
It's not the perfect man. It's the man that made a bunch of mistakes and learned from them.
Yeah. So I like it. I like the idea of being an unbreakable person, and it's really knowing. I really think to become truly unbreakable, it's about being broken so many times to know how fucking strong you are and how to actually put yourself back together and to keep going. That's really, I think, what makes an unbreakable man.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Morgan.
All right, brother.
Great your time.
You're very welcome.
Awesome.
And if people want to check us out, my Instagram podcast, probably the best. My Instagram's at Morgan T. Nelson. I don't know when you'll launch this, but I think I'm actually working on doing like a whole bunch of free. I want to create like free trainings, and I'm going to embed them into our website and shit. So I don't know when you're putting this out. I don't know when I'm going to do that.
Okay.
But maybe by the time it's out, people can get access to heaps. I just want to put out heaps of free shit where people can plug in and just get like heaps of cool stuff. But
Awesome.
yeah, at Morgan T. Nelson or Dream Out Loud podcast.
Yeah, cool. Follow this guy, and if you stick around long enough, you'll find out what the T stands for.
Yeah. Love it, brother.
Cheers, guys. Have a great day. Hey, mate, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Unbreakable Man podcast. If you did, it would be absolutely fantastic if you could leave us a 5-star review, because that's going to help us get our message in front of more men who need to hear it. Now, if you have some feedback for me, I'd love to hear that too. Comment down below. And if you just need some mini doses of Unbreakable Man motivation throughout your week, then you can follow us across all social platforms. On Facebook, it's Unbreakable Man Challenge. On Instagram, it's Unbreakable Man_challenge. And on TikTok and YouTube, it's just Unbreakable Man. Your support would be absolutely invaluable. Now, last but not least, do not forget, men aren't born, they're built.